Nagoya, from the album Don't Limit Yourself by Chill Hop Music 2021. Welcome back to Build Theory. I'm Aurian Archive, and we're starting off with a bit of channel update, actually. Well, what have I been working on? Well, first thing, I've been working on the build that we're about to go into, my Ice Rat controller, and I've also been working on scripting up and outlining the beat down, for lack of a better word, on the Samsung television. And you might be able to tell from this outline I've got up some of the problems that this television has. And uh, the quick explanation here, without going into too much detail, is Samsung has a serious problem with dog fooding. And this is shown in the Galaxy phone, the exploding batteries. Samsung doesn't actually have anyone who's testing their products in a real use environment before they actually launch the products. And by the time they launch the products, it's, in their opinion, too late to fix any issues. They just move on to the next product. And that is, I believe, a major source of many of Samsung's issues. But we'll get into those when I actually do the television stream. I wanted to start with this because I've talked about it before and I keep talking about it. I mean, I've been talking about it on Twitter for like 3, 4 years now, however long I've had this television, and how much I despise how it operates. Great color quality. If it works, when it works, it looks really good. It's just a freaking in the to use. You can fill in the blanks. So, on to happier thoughts. Let's switch over to the build screen, and we're picking up right now. Actually, not the build the build I have up. This is the Ice Rad Primal. I keep wanting to call it Ice Rad Invuln because the primary resist power is temporary invulnerability. But I finally finished this build. And fair shot, I took it on a Richter Mothership raid today, and then I took it on to iTrials, specifically a Lambda Incarnate trial, followed by a Mind Mayhem Incarnate trials. Yeah, Minds of Mayhem. I was close. Uh, Minds of Mayhem trial. And I didn't actually have Choking Cloud slotted all the way. Actually, it was slotted. I just hadn't catalyzed the version to superior. Moment. And I didn't realize that until just a few minutes ago, really. And I was able to, in those trials, admittedly, they are full of teammates helping, keep all my toggles running at once. Up here you can see my recovery rate and you can see my endurance consumption rate. Right now with Arctic Air, Choking Cloud, Temporary Invulnerability, Maneuvers, Combat Jumping, Sprint, and Speed of Sound on, I'm clocking 2.13 endurance per second drain. I'm just going to drop Innervating Field and Radiation Infection on this poor hapless Warwolf here. And our endurance consumption bumps up to 2.68 endurance per second. And that's our constant all toggles on how much endurance drain we're taking down. 2.68 out of 3.14 recharge. And if I just do a excuse me. If I just do a accelerated metabolism, AM, I keep wanting to call it amplitude modulation. That's not what AM means in this game. And you can see that I've bumped up to 4.28 endurance per second, with still at that 2.13 endurance drain. And that was enough I was pretty much able to keep the toggles going and not run out of endurance. Find another hapless target to fling our toggles on. And I had the option of conserve power, which craters me down to 1.22 endurance per second. And if I hit Radiant Aura, which contains the... Can you even see what I'm doing? That's embarrassing. When I hit Radiant Aura, which has the Numina proc on it, you can see that my endurance recovery bumps up to 4.45 endurance per second. Now, notably, these are not the final numbers for two reasons. First, I do need to go into options and turn a specific setting back on, status window display, re-enable buffs, and I may have to zone change for some of the buffs to show up. Uh, Things you don't think about until you're in the middle of doing them. Uh, but what we're looking for right now is specifically the status buffs. Actually, the easiest way to do this is we'll come back to the recovery rate, because the easiest way to do this will be to start a mission since I'm in zone. For some reason, Striga, there's a bug. Oh, it's not really a bug. It's it's hidden animations is what it is. So we'll actually go through and look at what I was originally out here to look at, and that is what happens with my defense. Right now, you can see up here my range defense is 47.56, which is over 45%. Now, City of Heroes has a unique way of calculating math in that there is, effectively speaking, in terms of defense, there is always a 5% chance to hit and a 5% chance for enemies to miss. That never changes. Now, what you can do is, besides those system enforced, enemies base always have a 45% chance to miss. So your defense only has to, in most cases, if you have 45% defense, you have 45% of all the checks that it takes that the system will say there is a chance this attack will land. We'll check your defense whether or not this attack lands. 45% gives you the maximum amount of defense. Now, that number does change based on how much to hit enemies have. Enemies that have a higher to hit rate require higher amounts of defense. I'm a radiation with lingering radiation, radiation infection, and innervating field. Cratering enemies' ability to hit me is not exactly the biggest problem in the world I have. And this comes back to my early experience. Without even being fully slotted, I again participated in a mothership raid and 2 incarnate trials and didn't realize I wasn't fully slotted. So the big question is, and the whole now to intentionally bring up the build to look at it. Wrong build. Here, that build. The whole thing about this build is the mid-range. A lot of the content is between 25. It's like your first task force is Positron. That tops out at, effectively speaking, you'll have powers up to level 20. Next task force after that is Synapse, which tops out around power levels 25. So starting in the mid-range with Penelope Yin, Citadel, Manticore, Moonfire, these mid-range task forces are kind of where a lot of things happen. And so having defenses in those areas is kind of an important thing to check. So let's go ahead and start a Moonfire. All right, now this is something else that has become kind of a topic of discussion in solo starting task forces and the task force difficulty level. Now, for anyone who played City of Heroes when it was on live servers, a very important factor in choosing a server is whether or not there were people around to play with, such as I played on Triumph, Victory, Freedom, Justice, Virtue, Guardian, Protector. I played on lots of different servers because I had an erratic work schedule. I never knew when I was going to be able to play. I never knew if I would be able to get a team or participate in any content. I just didn't know. And because I didn't know what was going on, when it was going on, everything that was, you know, whether or not I'd be able to play with anybody, I could log onto a server and there'd be nobody there to play with. And if you were by yourself and you were running a task force and it's the only time that you have time to play, you're on a server, there's no one else to play with, being able to start and run task forces was a big game changer for the secret server because we had a very small player base. There oftentimes weren't anybody else around when somebody had time to get on to play. So being able to get into a task force and play it was critical in some aspects. Now, the reason why this is kind of important is if you are a solo player and the task force is enforcing the minimum number of players to start the task force, and you're on a small server, and you can't handle a group of enemies, you can only handle maybe 1x. That's why I brought up the mission difficulty here. You can see that these enemies are spawning in full force as though I had a complete team with me. Now, I'm highly optimized. This is not a big problem for me. Am slow, but I can still kind of mow through these enemies and make progress. I'm also a I make game breaking builds. It's kind of what I do. And if I stay out of range because I'm a controller, they can't hit me because I've got 46% defense. This is going to be slow, but it can be done. But it's bad game design. It's horrible game design because A, it doesn't respect the time of the player. It doesn't respect the realities of actually playing a game. And this is not just something that's unique to City of Heroes. This is something that games like Destiny have dramatically suffered from. And to pick on Destiny for a moment, I really liked the first Destiny. I really liked Destiny 2. I played a lot of it. But then I stopped. And the reason why I stopped is that I had it on PlayStation. And on PlayStation, you could not take part in the more advanced, uh, their version of task forces, their strikes. I honestly forget the name of whatever they were called. Uh, been a while. But their events, most of the events were on a queuing system. So all you had to do was just join a queue, and then the next time the event started, if there was anyone else to play with, you were automatically matched and off you went. Well, a number of events inside Destiny were not. A number of the higher level events that had better rewards required you to already be in a team. Not only did you have to be in a team to play them, you had to be in a specific team, which meant that and there was no way to recruit inside the game. So if you were someone like me who had an erratic work schedule when the first Destiny came out, you were pretty much stuck having to go to third party forums, a third party chat channel, something to find people who would be online at the same time you were going to be online who could co run that event. And that was a miserable experience. It was bad game design then, and it's bad game design when Cryptic did it, and bad game design when Paragon continued it. It doesn't respect the player's time, and it raises an artificial barrier. Uh, okay, and there's a fair point that you don't want some things to change. Like if Attack Force speaking of City Heroes, if Attack Force has an arc villain at the end, yeah, you kind of want to let that arc villain stand. That is a challenge but facing off against a hardened target, you can bring in temporary powers, Shivans, signature summons. You can bring along help to get you over that final boss, but having to slog the whole way through. And how long did that take me to just drop one mob? I'm not a damage optimized. This is not a damage optimized character. And that's why this is one of the things that I think drove a lot of people away from City of Heroes back under Cryptic and Paragon, because you had to jump through hoops to experience the content to move forward. That, again, comes back to didn't respect players' time, set up artificial barriers over. If you've got three people in line and all of you are willing to go on a task force, but you need seven people to start that task force, and you get into it, and all the enemies are spawning at as though you had seven team members, that can be a lot for a small team of casual players to deal with. It's bad game design. And yeah, I understand that some people say, well, it's for the challenge. Yeah, if you want to do a challenge like that, you make an additional option that somebody can click in a menu. You don't make it a default part of the task force. Now you can say task forces. The rules of task forces are they have an arc villain at the end. You will have to face the arc villain. It's not going to scale down. Okay, fine. There were lots of tools to deal with that problem because, again, going back to Cryptic and Paragon, it was not uncommon, especially in the early days, that a single person would still be running the task force when it got to the end because of disconnect. People had to go, people had to do something else. So having the task force scale up and down to team size was one of the major quality of life changes that was made for the secret server. To have that kind of change rolled back is not just stupid. It's the kind of thing that gets someone like me to do a 2-hour live stream explaining exactly why it's bad game design and breaking out the Impress files and acting like a complete moron as I step through every step by baby step. It's bad design. I shouldn't have to give a lecture on that. It should be self-evident. Okay, I realize I just went on a rant there, but this is something that, again, these are the kind of things that it doesn't just apply to City of Heroes. It applies to every game. And these are the kind of considerations that a lot of MMOs just don't account for. And then the publishers wonder, well, why did our MMO fail? Well, for one, you didn't respect the player's time. You didn't respect how your players were going to play. You had an idea of what you thought the players were going to play your game, but that's not how they actually played it. You, these are kind of important factors to keep in mind. Anyways, back to what I was originally in the middle of with this build. I did actually, and again, what I've been up to, oh, I don't know. Not the appearance right now. I want to change power sets. Select to rename your active build. Uh, we'll go to the ice build because I also finished this one up. And you can see everything's plussed. Do a quick check. Yes, that we got all superiors there. And the build looks a lot the same. It should. We still let's go ahead and start turning things on. There's our ice shield. There's maneuvers. There's combat jumping. And we'll have to wait a couple minutes for AM to come back up. And you can see we're clocking 3.28 N per second with a 1.85 endurance drain. And let's get our toggles out and all toggles up. We're clocking 2.67 drain on 3.28 recovery. With Numi in play, we're at 3.45. And now we're still waiting for AM to come up. Let's check our range defense. Start the Moonfire. Agree to form a strike force. Accept current challenges. And we are at 46% range defense. So not even entering the mission. And we're there. So we'll go ahead and cut that out. And now we'll go check the next lowest mission after this. And we'll head to Independent Port and Penelope Yen. And we'll see where we get there. All right. While I'm running and we're still waiting for AM to come back up, we still got about a minute there. So AM will probably come back up by the time I get to Penelope Yen. Anyways, coming back to game, and this is something where you routinely hear it about, say, with Nintendo. One real quick. I mentioned that there's a problem. It's not really a bug. It's that the zone door, the actual door that leads out of the zone, is buried inside the ship. So, right now I have, skip back up here. So when you click on this door and you get this delay time, and it's real bad when you're going from other ships, is animating. The animation is hidden as the player moves from this door to wherever the actual zone door is, which may not necessarily be at this door. Now, there's one place in Paragon Island where, I'm sorry, not Paragon Island, here in Independence Port, where you can save yourself a lot of hassle and trouble if you're aware of these shared doors. If you're running various task forces, say like Miss Liberty's task force, you might know that this sub has a door. It's the same door as this door. So if you're running a Miss Liberty task force, if you enter at this door here on this ship, you'll animate straight into this door. Whereas if you click on the sub, the reason why it takes so long is that the animation of your character moving from this sub to this door is hidden. You don't see it. It's not played. Uh, just a little bit of trivia. If you come across a door where things like, that took a really long time to open, your character is being moved to the actual door at the character's travel speed or the system travel speed. It's not just the game being slow. It's a hodgepodge to get doors where developers wanted them. All right, Penelope Yen. Agree to form a strike force, accept current challenge settings. And on this one, we just lost a metric ton of defense going from Moonfire was 28. We're now capped to 25, and we're now down to 25 range defense. We have lost a lot, and most of that was probably here in our cloud senses, and also our basilisk gaze, which were ranged. Now, if you had those set to attuned instead of uh, plussed, they you might scale down a little further. But that answered that question. We did just lose our soft caps going down to yen. So we'll quit Strike Force. And we'll talk to the trainer. And select to rename your active build. And we'll swap to Primal. No, wait. Before I swap to Primal. Okay. One of the things we were looking at was our endurance recovery. Here's our endurance recovery. 3.45. With Numi up. With AM, we're up to 4.59. Alright. Train to a new level of power. Select to rename your active build. Select Primal. Confirm. Alright, and now everything's recharging. Let's go ahead and get our toggles back up. We already know what these look like. And we're going to be waiting a while on AM. We're at 47.45 ranged. Let's click on Penelope. Agree to form a strike force. Accept current challenge settings. And on this build, the Invuln build, we've only dropped to 30.18. So we've only lost 15% range defense. So we're still below the soft cap. If you toss out radiation infection, you'll still be at effective soft cap. Well, you still be at effective soft cap with radiation infection if you dropped it on the ice build. All right. So answered that question, we would have in Moonfire at least, have our full defensive capabilities available. Penelope Yen is just too low to get her full suite. And now we're just waiting on AM to come back up because there's one other thing that I kind of want to test on camera. Alright, and I really don't want to beat the task force thing into the ground again. Let's turn that back on. Alright, kind of an offshoot question. Given the amount of debuffs that this build could put out, could it be an AV hunter? I don't think so. I mean, yeah, radiation emission puts out a metric ton of debuff, but ice control uh, does not put out a significant amount of damage. And to drop an AV or giant monster, you kind of need a significant amount of damage output. Um, but since I'm still waiting at least 30 more seconds, we'll go see if there's a monster that's up. And we'll see if she can actually do anything against that monster. I'm kind of hoping Kraken will be up, because that would make this simple. And alright, what I want to check is, we saw earlier how much endurance recovery we got out of just AM by itself. I'm curious to see if Power Boost has any effect on accelerate metabolism, not amplitude modulation. Alright, and that's this build. And if we check our, we'll go ahead and maximize this a bit so the numbers are easier to see. If we check our numbers, looking at Power Boost and looking at Accelerate Metabolism is turned on. And currently we have a recovery of 3.9, or calculated 3.9. And if I hit Power Boost, it's not supposed to affect the recovery, or at least it's not supposed to affect Accelerate Metabolism directly. And Power Boost is supposed to improve secondary effects. Disorients, holds, immobilize, heals, defense buff, endurance drain, knockbacks, and more are all improved. So the text of Power Boost would suggest that it improves accelerated metabolism. So Power Boost, AM, and 4.28. So, no, despite how the text reads, and there we are, 4.45 with Numina up, which I think was identical to the earlier number. So, just kind of showing on camera, no, despite how it's phrased and despite how it looks, Power Boost doesn't actually do anything to boost the endurance recovery of accelerate metabolism. Now, one of the things I didn't check was whether or not it boosted the damage component. And so we'll come up here, base, and we'll do damage bonus. Right now, we currently have 34% damage over the duration, accelerate metabolism. And now we'll just kind of go looking for Kraken. Normally, he's a big green ugly thing. I don't even know if he's up. But he'd be kind of like the first one to start with since he's one of the easiest. Oh no, but Aosha is up. I'm not tabbing Kraken. Okay, so I guess it's a valid question. Can I go withstand a giant monster? Well, let's go find out. Okay, damage bonus 34%. Alright, let's slow him down. Wait for power boost to definitely wear off. And no, I am. Okay. It's hasten. Damage bonus 34%, so no. Power boost did not boost the damage component of accelerate metabolism either. And I am not denting his health at all. So, no. Lots of debuff, not actually enough to go and hunt a giant monster. I would need significantly higher DPS output than just one minor, one tertiary, and one hold. Still, at least I went and tried. Been Aurian